Nailed it. But G. Hill, let's start there. What do the Heat need from their superstars as this series moves to Miami?
Yeah, Kristen, I mean, they need him to play better, first and foremost. I mean, these two guys played so big for this team last year in the bubble. You think of Jimmy Butler and his incredible play. 2 games away from winning a championship, and we have not seen that Jimmy Butler or Bam Adebayo, for that matter, in this series. And really give a lot of credit to Milwaukee. I think they've really confused them. Brook Lopez, Giannis Antetokounmpo, their size, their athleticism, they take up space, and they really haven't allowed Butler or Adebayo to do anything in the paint. Also, which has been interesting, is Adebayo, who has become a pretty solid mid-range shooter. Looks very hesitant. Lopez has given him space and almost playing like a one-man zone. He's not just guarding Adebayo, but mucking up all the other action and activity inside for the Miami Heat. So I do expect these two to respond, play better. They're at home now. They'll get a chance to come in familiar surroundings and improve upon their play, but they have to play big. Have to be sensational, have to be the players they've been all season for Miami to have a chance here in a must-win Game 3.
Yeah, Grant, talk to me a little bit about Milwaukee and how they've had so much success. I mean, they're shooting the ball extremely well. And what is it about Miami's defense that they've seen that they can take advantage of?
You make a great point. I mean, Milwaukee's offense, obviously, number 1 in scoring during the regular season. And you go against a great defensive team in Miami, but they've had their way. I mean, they struggled a bit shooting. They weren't quite as sharp. I thought Game 1 was more Heat style of basketball, and the Miami Heat certainly had a chance to steal that game. But Game 2, I mean, they came out, scored a ton of points, 46 points in the first quarter. 70-plus points in the first half against an incredible defensive team. And they're doing it. Giannis hasn't been great. I mean, he's been able to score a lot of points, but he's not shooting well from the perimeter. But it's been the others. Bryn Forbes, Pat Connaughton, Drew Holiday's been solid, Middleton as well. It's really been a collective effort. And I think as they now go on the road, they have to expect a reaction from Miami. They have to expect Miami to come out with greater aggression, greater force on the defensive end. Milwaukee's pretty much been comfortable in their offensive sets. And I'm not used to saying that. Comfortable against Miami is not something that any of us are accustomed to. But they've had a good showing here, and now the stars, Middleton and Giannis, of course, have to lead the way for this Bucks team on the road because you know Miami's going to come out and play a whole lot better here at home here in Game 3.
Grant, we know Milwaukee is susceptible to the 3 in the past, and Miami loves to shoot the 3. Talk about Milwaukee taking that 3 away from Miami and what Miami's going to have to do now that they're home. You know, guys normally shoot the ball a lot better at home than on the road. What is Miami going to have to do to get that 3-point ball going, and what Milwaukee's going to have to do to continue to take that away and make Miami play more inside that 3-point line?
Well, you know, if I'm Miami, I'm not, too down. I mean, first of all, they can ignite as well. They have guys who can really flat out shoot the ball from the perimeter, including Duncan Robinson, who they go to often and has actually been pretty solid here and consistent. 9 of 19 on 3-pointers here in these 2 games in this series. And think about it. In Game 1, Miami shot the ball extremely well from the perimeter. They made 15 more 3-pointers than the Bucks, but they still lost that game. So I expect better shooting, better movement. Miami Heat basketball, where they play together as a group and certainly play with more confidence from the perimeter. But the key is, and we didn't really talk about it as much, is transition. The transition game were for Milwaukee. They've been flying up and down the court. Miami was the number 1 team in the NBA in transition defense. The transition defense has been non-existent in part because their offense hasn't been efficient. And then 2, blocking out on the glass. The offensive rebounding for the Bucks has been incredible, and Miami's going to have to do a better job. I wouldn't be surprised to see Deadman out there a little bit more without Adebayo to go against that size of Giannis and Brook Lopez. So I think Miami will play better on both ends of the floor, but they're going to have to get back to being who they are, playing tough, playing with aggression, and playing with a great deal of confidence on the offensive end.
Grant, we will let you go. Get ready to call this game, but we'll be watching Oh, man.
Like I told you.
Right.
You
Tried
see
to
it,
be a little
JT.
too cute. Messed it up.
We'll get it right. We'll get it
You know
right.
what?
We'll get it right.
I forgot we were live. I thought we had a rehearsal. We didn't. All right, Grant, we'll let you go. We'll be watching on TNT. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care, guys.
All right. Guys, we can talk a lot about struggling superstars, but we also have to talk about what the Bucks are doing well in order to defend Jimmy Butler. Here's Giannis with his defense on Jimmy from last season in the playoffs and this season in the playoffs. There's a difference. Sam, what have you seen from Giannis as he's guarded Jimmy?
Well, I just think he's taking away his space and he's using that length. People forget that Giannis is 7 feet tall almost, and so he can eat up a lot of space. And right now, he's just using that length to space Jimmy. And then once Jimmy gets into his comfort zone, because you have to remember, Jimmy Butler doesn't have Steph Curry or Dame Lillard type of range. So Giannis is waiting for Jimmy to come to him, and you see that as Jimmy comes to Giannis, he's going to eat that space up. Here's Giannis right here. Now watch this. He's just reading everything. He comes over help, and now he's quick enough to close back out on Jimmy. And look, he didn't block the shot, but he put a lot of pressure on that shot for Jimmy. And here's Jimmy right here. Normally when Jimmy gets you in the paint right here, he can go to work. But look, that size, that athleticism, and those long arms that keep stretching and contesting shots, he's just not giving Jimmy Butler any space. And I think what Jimmy's going to have to do, he's going to have to attack more in transition, because in the half court, Giannis can eat that space up. And if Jimmy doesn't have the range that Steph or guys like that has, as he comes to Giannis, he eats that space up and takes those easy jump shots away.
Well, let's then keep in mind, Jet, that the Miami Heat ended the Milwaukee Bucks postseason run last season. I know they haven't forgotten. So what do you expect the Heat are going to do differently in Game 3?
Well, when you watch the film, you can tell that they ended them last year, because when you see their best player, Giannis, taking on Jimmy Butler, that's a challenge that he didn't necessarily take last year. So the emphasis is there. But for the Miami Heat, I think it's hunt out the weak defender, right? Who is it? I think they need to put Brook Lopez in pick and roll situations and allow Jimmy Butler to come off, get downhill. Jimmy's not going to hurt you from three, but he likes to get in the mid-range. So if he can create a switch or get downhill on Brook Lopez, maybe create some space, shoot some step backs, get to the free throw line. Jimmy Butler's
I got a feeling before this series is over, you're going to take over that number one spot. So congratulations. What I want to ask you is, how are you guys using that energy in the Garden and all the things that come with being in the playoffs, playing in New York? Now you're transitioning back to Atlanta. How are you guys going to use that energy to be at home now and beat this New York Knicks team that's beaten you guys throughout the last 4 times?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we got to come home with a lot of energy. We got to know we got to take care of home. I mean, being able to steal one on the road was good for us, but coming back here, we got to be able to take care of business. And we know they're going to come out with a lot of energy. I mean, they did a great job of making adjustments, and so we're going to have to continue to do our part and bring that energy back home.
Ice Trey, it's the Jet. First of all, man, congratulations on a great start to your first playoff series. My question for you is, where do you get the confidence from? You know, you've never been in the playoffs. Obviously, my first playoff was many moons ago, but I was so nervous, man. I got off to a slow start. My team actually got down to an 0-2 deficit at home, and we fought back and won the series. But where did you get your confidence from, knowing that you hadn't been in the playoffs before?
I mean, my confidence always comes from my work ethic. For me, I mean, I feel like the more work you put in, the more confidence you're going to have, just because you know you put in the work and you know it's going to show eventually. So for me, I knew I put in the work. I knew I put in the time, and now it's really I'm doing the same thing I've been doing. It's just on a bigger stage. And so just knowing that I put in the work and I put in the time, that when I got this opportunity in the stage, that it was going to show.
Trey, I want to ask you this. Your first 2 years in the league, you took a lot of threes, made a lot of threes, but this past season, you're living in the paint with that floater more. You and Clint Capella in that high screening role is becoming a lethal combination. What made you kind of stop shooting as many threes and concentrate more playing in the paint, that high screening role with Capella, and working on that floater, because it's been life-saving for you and your game in the Atlanta Hawks?
Well, I've always had it, to be honest with you. It's really just how the defense has guarded me this year. A lot more defenders are picking me up higher, so I'm able to get down in the paint more and make reads there. And with our bigs, we got guys who can space the floor with Gallo and John, and then you have Clint rolling with shooters all around. I'm able to get in the paint and make reads there. So it's not necessarily that I worked more on it. It's always been there. It's just more about how the defenders are guarding me this year. Considered differently than last year.
Trey, before we let you go, if you were to point to one, be it player on your team or on another team, or perhaps it's been a coach, the most influential in preparing you for a playoff run, who has it been?
Probably my AAU coach, Rodney Perry, Mocan Elite. Even back then, I was watching film, and he was really the first person that I really had to dive into film and to really know I had to focus on that opponent and know that I needed to be prepared before every game. And I think he's really been that first coach that really instilled that mindset in me that I need to be prepared before every game. I think that's really helped me coming into the playoffs.
Trey, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I've been told that you're a little busy this week, so we appreciate you making the time.
Yeah, I am a little bit. Appreciate that. I always take the time out.
Of course. Thank you again. All right, we'll be watching for you. Guys, let's talk first, though, about what we talked with him about first, which is fan behavior and the response from the teams and from the league after several incidents in and around the league in these last couple of days.
Well, I like his response. Look, you have to put everything in context. Look, I always go back to what happened in Detroit with Ron Artest in that situation. Yeah, a fan does not have a right to throw anything towards a players on the court, but it was a paper cup. And when you think about it, and to Trey's point, he didn't feel it. He saw it. It's disrespectful, but I don't think he's allowing himself to feed into it and just go that deep into it. It's an unfortunate thing that happened. I think the way he handled it was with a lot of maturity. And right now, he's focused on one thing, beating the Knicks, not worried about the fans. And so I think it's a great way to handle it, because if you get caught up into all these emotions and you start splitting your time in your mind with the fans and this going on and reading all the media reports and get caught up in all that, then it deters you from your game in the hand. And right now, the Atlanta Hawks have an excellent chance to go up 2-1 and possibly 3-1 with the next two games at home. So that's the thing that Trey should be focused on, and that's the thing that he is focused on.
I agree about focusing on it, Sam, but I don't know, man. That man spit on that man. That is the most disrespectful thing you can do. I don't care what kind of setting it's in. So in that particular instance, I'm going to be a professional, but I just don't know how I would have responded. I mean, because at some point you black out and you go crazy. But
yeah, it's probably a positive thing
it's tough
for the fan that dumped the popcorn on Russ, that there were enough standing by to hold Russ back from getting into the stands.
No doubt.
Well.
We have the league's best security staff, and they took care of Russ in that instance, and I'm glad Trey didn't feel it.
It is, though, Sam, a really cool thing to get to see fans back in the stands. Of course, a few negative incidents take away from what has been such a positive thing, which is that fans are back and home court advantage has become real yet again as well.
Absolutely. I think last year in the bubble, everybody got a little too caught up in playing in that bubble. Everybody got comfortable. You're coming to the same arena every night. You know, everybody's playing the same venue. Now you're back traveling. You're getting on a plane. You're back on the road, visiting locker rooms and arenas. And so the fans make a difference. And even though it wasn't capacity crowds, think about this, Christian. When you used to playing with nobody in the arena, and all of a sudden you put 5, 10, 12,000 people in the arena, it is crazy. And in New York, that place was unbelievable. And that's the type of basketball we want. We want the fans there. We want them to be loud, be engaged. And when you're at home, you want that home crowd in your corner.
And that could possibly be the case for the Lakers, you think, moving forward? Let's go ahead. And before we look ahead to tonight's slate, let's look back to the last Laker win over the Suns in Game 2. Here we had Anthony Davis getting it done on both ends of the floor after taking responsibility for the loss in Game 1. He said he'd be better, and he certainly was. LeBron with the turnaround with less than 3 minutes to go in the fourth. And then AD yet again with 2:15 to go in the game. LeBron with the three with less than a minute to go. And Jet, unsurprisingly, the Lakers rebounded after their Game 1 loss.
Yeah, there's no surprise at all. I mean, when Anthony Davis comes with the mindset that I'm going to be the most dominant and physical force that we have in our game today, I mean, with his skill set, he goes inside and then out. That's how it has to start for them. He sets the tone, and LeBron understands that. LeBron's picking his spots right now. He's not going to overexert himself trying to go for 50 and will this team to victories when he knows he has someone like Anthony Davis that can put up big numbers on any given night.
Because the reigning champion Lakers simply don't lose back-to-back games. Here's more on this first-round matchup heading into Game 3, now tied at 1 apiece.
Monty, obviously Chris didn't play a lot in the second half. Was that more you seeing that he wasn't enough of himself, or him feeling like that?
I took him out. That was all me just looking at him hold his arm the way that he was holding it. I just couldn't watch him, run like that. He's trying to make plays. He battled. He's a warrior. We all know that. And I just made a decision to take him out.
I mean, that's Chris, man. He's going to fight. He's a warrior out there. And I know he doesn't want anything more than, to win these games. So I know he's going to do everything in his power to be out there. Obviously still bothering him. And we have a short couple days, that he can get some recovery and treatment in to, hopefully get it right for next game.
I'm concerned about shot quality. If we generate the right shot quality and our guys stay true to their work and they honor their work and they remain confident, we're going to make plenty of shots to win basketball games, so it's not a great concern of mine other than, continuing to work for great quality shots.
Jet, continue your thought. Do you agree with AD that the Lakers' success in this series is going to rise and fall with his play?
No doubt. He's a big reason why they won the championship last year. And when he's dominant and he's going inside out, if you watched him in Game 2, he ran the court extremely hard. He tried to get duck ins early, good post position before the defense was set. And then in the half court, you see him putting his shoulder down, just driving through with force, going through, taking the contact, initiating contact. And then once he does that, he can step out and shoot as many jump shots as he wants because he can make that as well at a high, efficient rate.
And Sam, for the Suns, how do you quantify how important Chris Paul and his health is going to be to this team?
Extremely. I don't think they can win this series unless he can get healthy or at least find a way to play through it and be effective, because Chris Paul, forget how great a defender he is, he's one of the best mid-range shooters in our game. And in that high screening road, when the centers are bagging up, he pull up and hit you with that 17-footer. That can be a dagger. So his inability to get that shot off with comfort is going to be a huge problem for Phoenix.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, but later on in this show, we're going to welcome in virtual fans to ask the analysts about their favorite teams. Look at them. They're ready. And after the break, we're going to look ahead to Game 3 between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Miami Heat as former NBA Inside Stuff co-host. Let's talk a little bit about, what the Nuggets are doing to limit Damian Lillard as best as anyone can. Anyway, Aaron Gordon was the one to answer the call in Game 2. Jet, what was it that stood out to you about him defensively?
Well, the reason why they acquired Aaron Gordon, Coach and I just discussed, is for defense. They're not counting on him scoring offense. He's a bigger defender. I think right here, though, his ability to move his feet, right, to cut Dame off. He doesn't get beat by the initial move, right, doesn't fall for the hezzy, the feints, and then he's able to contest, right, with his length. So a much bigger, more physical defender right here. He fights through a screen. He's a little late, but his length allows him to contest the shot. Here he moves his feet again. Great lateral movement, stays in front of him, forces him to give the ball up. So the reason why Aaron Gordon is there, bear down, is that he's a great defensive player. He can use his size, his strength, and his length, and his ability to move his feet.
Denver, though, Sam, did have 6 players in double-figure scoring. So it's not just what they're doing to limit Dame defensively. They're getting it done offensively as well.
Yeah, and in that first game, Portland game plan was to play the Joker straight up, cut everybody else off, and it worked. But Game 2, 15 for 20, that's too efficient. You cannot do that. You cannot let a guy go 15 for 20 and then do all the other things they do. So it's going to be important. Portland's going to have to figure out, how do you want to play the Joker? Because playing him one-on-one, that didn't work because he's just going to torch you and he's going to be too efficient. And then he's still going to find a way to get his 7 to 8 assists, his 8, 9 rebounds. So the question is, you got to be strategic. When to come trap him and get the ball out of his hand. And once he gives it up, who's ever defending him, they got to work like the Dickens not to let him get it back, especially in his sweet spot. JT, It drives me crazy. We trap a guy, and then the guy that we're helping just relax and let him throw him the ball back. I'm like, look, help starts with helping yourself. So Portland's got to kind of tweak that defensive game plan a little bit.
You also don't get enough work like the Dickens these days,
I love
especially not on live television, Sam. Those, though, are some of the defensive questions, Jet. Let's answer some of the offensive questions for the Blazers because the Nuggets outscored the Blazers in the paint. They had the advantage in second chance points, the advantage in fast break points, and their reserves did not play the same way in Game 2 as they did in Game 1.
Right, and their reserves are very key to their success, and they have to get production, from their bench. Melo lit it up in Game 1. I mean, he was crucial. I think going back to Portland, they're much more comfortable in that arena. They'll get those guys going early. CJ has to have a big game. Obviously, a lot of attention now is being put on Dame, and rightfully so. So CJ, I'm looking for him to have a big game in Game 3.
Let me also ask you, Sam, because Portland did have a season-high 21 turnovers in Game 2. What's the key, especially in a playoff scenario, to simply protecting the ball?
Well, they're going to turn it over a little bit because Dame and CJ have the ball in their hands all the time, and they have to create and make plays. 21 is too many, but the thing about Portland, man, they can score, to JT's point. They can get on the roll, and I think it's going to be critical that early in this game that Dame is going to have to be a north-south player. If he's going east and west where Aaron going size and length, he's going to be in trouble. But he's got to get downhill and make quick decisions and make Denver pay. If you're going to put Aaron Gordon on Dame, he's got to break him down, live in the paint, and others are going to have to be shot ready and ready to shoot the ball.
I just get excited when we hear something like, "We'll see," from Damian Lillard, because typically when he says something like that, what do? We see. Well, we've got to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're also going to take a look at what led the Mavericks to their first 2-0 lead in the playoff series in a decade. You remember that, Jet? I'll give you a hint. This guy, by the way, had a little something to do with 3 tonight on NBA TV. Game 4 is Saturday on TNT. And for more on this series, we're welcoming in some of the Nuggets and Blazers' biggest fans to ask our analysts. Hey, y'all.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah. All right. I like the excitement. First, Seth, I hear you're a big-time Blazers fan. What do you got for the guys, Seth?
Actually, I don't have a question for the Blazers, but first, thank you guys for having me back again.
Thanks for joining. I like the glasses also.
Thank you
Very
much.
look.
The best icebreaker I've ever bought. I actually wanted to ask a question about the fan incidents recently with Trey and Russ, and whether or not you guys whether you think there might be maybe a move to start restricting like courtside seat access. The way the arenas are set up this way in this season with physical distancing and everything, and that there's more room around the court. Do you think we might see more of that to try to prevent some of these fan incidents going forward? And question. Secondly, if either JT or Sam, do you have any stories that stick out for you of a good fan interaction, so we can turn something into a positive?
JT, you want to go first?
Look at Coach, because he can't think of any.
Well, I mean, to answer your first question, the fans make the game, right? Interaction with the fans is incredible. Don't let one idiot ruin it for everybody else. I mean, that's the best part for me. When I walked out of that tunnel, when I flew down that runway, I mean, I got the greatest feeling ever. So I hope that doesn't ruin it. I think some of the greatest moments for me, I mean, I made a dove for a loose ball. There was a lady, she was about 85 years old, one of the biggest man fans ever. She gave me a big kiss. It was incredible.
I'm sure we have the footage of that.
But no, it's great, man. Our fans are the best in the world. They make the game, truly.
Yeah, I agree with JT. I just think these two incidents, unfortunate as they may be, it's no cause for us to start realigning the arenas and bringing in extra security. It's just two people and two incidents. And so let's just give it time and stuff because we do have the best fans. And the great thing about our game is that people can get up close and personal. Yep. And every now and then you're going to have those things, but I like the security, I like our players, and I really like the way Trae Young handled himself. You know, he didn't blow it out of proportion. He accepted the Knicks' apology, and he's using this as fun because at the end of the day, I played for the Pacers. I've been in those type of situations in those arenas where people screaming and throwing stuff at you and stuff, and we just laughed about it and thought it was part of the game because a lot of times, Christian, once we're outside the arena and you run into fans, it's a totally different interaction. So it's just all of those things, JT will tell you, happens in that 2 hour and 15-minute time frame in that building. Once you're outside that building, it's done.
Well, then let me get to Sam, not you, Sam, but Sam, our Nuggets fan, who is also standing by to ask a question.
With Nikola Jokic's stats that he's had this year and how he makes all of the players, all of his teammates better as the game goes on, how does he lose the race for the MVP?
I don't think he does. I mean, I've had him the last 3.5 months, the last month of the season. He's been my MVP. So when you look at, especially after Jamal Murray went down, I think they were like 13-5 when Jamal Murray went down. And to me, that's what an MVP does. When his second best player goes down, he even takes more of the responsibility and shoulder the load. And the thing that I like about what he's doing this year, he is aggressive offensively. In the past, he would always kind of start out getting everybody else involved and get his 18 to 20. This year, he's going forward. He's putting the ball in the basket. And if you're going to play him man-to-man, you saw what he did last night, 15 for 20. So I don't think he can lose the MVP. I would be shocked if he's not the MVP this year.
All right. Jonathan, also a Nuggets fan. Question?
Yeah, guys, I'm just curious, I guess, how excited y'all are in the addition of Facu and what a big piece he plays in this. I think he's the glue to the magnet. The energy he brings is just so exciting.
Yeah, Campazzo reminds me of a Mighty Mouse teammate I had in J.J. Barea. He's just an irritant. He gets under your skins. But if you watch him, he's skilled. I mean, he's a high IQ basketball player. He knows what he's doing out there, and he's not scared. I mean, he's a fierce competitor. Now, he does have his hands full because Dame Dollar don't care who's in front of him. He's going to try to light you up. But Campazzo, man, he's a fighter, man. He's a competitor. He's against.
Nick is also a Blazers fan. Nick, what's up?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I wanted to ask about the speed of the game. So, like, Kyle Anderson is having tremendous success in Memphis. Nikola Jokic is possibly the MVP. Why are these super slow players so effective when it's the most athletic game in the world?
Before we get to that, show them the sign that is sitting in your room. Show it to them. Look at this, guys.
Hey, time.
All right, now back to what was a very good question, Coach.
It is a good question. Look, think about what we've been talking about when we talked about Luka. You cannot speed him up. When you are a skilled basketball player and you got those quick athletic guys jumping around trying to get you to move and speed you up, no, you can't. So they're methodical in what they do. They understand what they want to do, and they're skilled. So they just read the defense. And JT will tell you, man, look, if you're an offensive player, I can look at your feet and determine whether I'm going to shoot the jumper or whether I'm going to drive left and right. The difference is, in my mind, if I can stay calm and play within my skill set and don't allow you to speed me up, then I'm always going to have the advantage as an offensive player.
Yeah, my God-given strength coming into the league was speed and quickness. And in my first 2-3 years, I was going too fast. It took me a summer with George the Iceman Gervin before he told me, he said, young fella, slow is quick. And so I slowed everything down. The game started happening before my eyes, and I started to read certain situations. So, you know, guys that play with a slower pace tend to be a little more effective on the offensive end of the floor.
Vincent, also a Nuggets fan, is joining us. Vincent, what's up?
The Denver Nuggets.
Oh, what do we have here?
I had to make that be
there
known.
It is.
I had to make that be known. So my question for you guys is, outside of Porter and Jokic, who else on the Nuggets do you think is a game changer?
Coach?
Aaron Gordon. He's got to be that guy. Look, he can still get you anywhere from 15 to 20 points, but his ability to rebound and play defense can change the game. He's been a godsend since they lost Jeremy Grant to free agency. They needed a guy like that, and since he's joined this team,